everybody. Welcome to the FiveStack.
Hi,
Look at all these people
hi.
pouring in.
Hi, friends. Hi, nice to see you. Howard, great to see you. Kimberly, great to be here. Great to be here with you, Kimberly, Howard, PJ, everybody who's coming in. Love the hearts. Just keep smashing those hearts. Apparently, that's important. Hi there, Tails Typos. Nice to see you. Mary, hi. Kat Wilson, what up? Kat, I saw you in the Lev Remembers podcast the other day. Hi, Gene. Yeah, it's nice to say hi to everybody this morning. It feels like we just walked into our favorite coffee shop and you've got a whole bunch of like pro-democracy, pardon the language, fuck Trump people in the same coffee shop, which is what I love about this podcast, is that we get to walk into this coffee shop every day at 3:00 with our friends from around the world, 126 different countries subscribing to this Substack. I think something similar to Zev's Substack as well.
Oh, no, nowhere nearly as big as yours. Yours is how many people?
I don't know, like 30,000 almost.
Wow. Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's been
You're a rock
incredible.
star in the Substack world.
I don't know about that, but it's been
Indeed.
incredible. To have gotten off of Twitter, to have discovered this community, to meet so many incredible people that just kind of arrive in my DMs. I get phone calls from subscribers. It's like fucking awesome. I absolutely love it. So welcome to the Coffee Shop Talk. We're talking today. We're doing another FiveStack, and we got lots to get to because Trump went off on his Golden Missile Dome bullshit again today. Mark Carney just completely bitch slapped Putin with Zelensky at his side at the end of the G7 yesterday. We're going to get to that. There's a bunch of stuff, Zev. Where do you want to start today for the FiveStack?
I want to start with the breaking news, because it still is breaking news, that we're potentially in the midst of Trump sending the U.S. military to be involved in the Israel-Iran conflict.
Yeah.
So we're day 6 of direct Israel-Iran conflict, with explosions heard in Tehran early this morning as Israeli warplanes continue bombing Iranian nuclear facilities. And it also looked like they bombed the Iranian police headquarters, which is unusual. Iran's supreme leader, Khamenei, said the battle begins and said Iran will not surrender, warning that any U.S. military intervention would bring irreparable damage. Meanwhile, Trump is weighing whether to strike Iran, telling reporters, "I may do it, I may not do it." As the Pentagon builds up forces in the Middle East, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed the Pentagon has day after planning for Iran, and Russia warns we're millimeters away from a catastrophe if the U.S. does in fact get involved in Iran. It is kind of a powder keg. It looks like it could explode. It's making everyone worried. People in Capitol Hill have not heard a thing. Tulsi Gabbard, who was supposed to give them a briefing today, canceled her briefing. So nobody knows very much about what's in Donald Trump's head, but it's a madness that could lead to a regional war and potentially a global conflict.
And it's not just us that doesn't know what's in Donald Trump's head. Donald Trump doesn't know what's in his head either. I mean, if you watch some of the rhetoric over the past 4 or 5 days, specifically coming out of the G7, where he's like, prior to the Israeli strike of Tehran and that incredible day where Israel took out a bunch of munitions and attacked Iran officially as part of this ongoing war, and what happened on October 7th, Donald Trump was like adamant, as was Marco Rubio. We had nothing to do with it. We had no idea. We didn't know. What are you talking about? I can't believe Israel attacked Iran. And then Israel's like, oh, yeah, we showed you the plans like 7 times. You vetted them. You agreed to it. You're part of this war. They're like, we don't know what you're talking about, but we do stand behind Israel's right to defend itself. That quickly went from like, we don't know what you're talking about, to, okay, yeah, we knew sort of what you're talking about, to, I think I'm going to take out the Khomeini. I think I might just erase Tehran from the face of the earth. I'm going to send some U.S. troops in to do some fucking damage real quick.
Unconditional surrender, I think was the term.
Did you see that tweet? He was like, unconditional surrender, and that he's still trying to, he's the worst fucking deal maker of all time.
Yeah.
He's still trying to tell Iran, there's still time to make a deal with me before you get wiped out. And the interesting thing that's happened over the past couple of days, which I find funny, is Netanyahu literally, like today, was like, listen, Donald Trump knew what we were doing. He in no way can take any credit for what we're doing in Iran. But if the U.S. decides to take a defensive posture with us, we will accept their help. This is a foregone conclusion. The United States Army, the United States forces are going to get involved in Iran. You better get fucking used to the idea, people, that the no wars president, the guy who said World War III would never start, never on my watch. Everybody loves me. People in the Middle East love me. Russia loves me. Japan loves me. They know no one loves him. They all know he's a fucking feckless moron who's just given up complete control to all the bandits in the free world because he refuses to police anybody unless he gets what is his, which is money or Bitcoin. So where do we stand? Great question. Donald Trump has already committed to joining Benjamin Netanyahu in taking out the Ayatollah and the Islamic regime in Iran, and it's on. So if you're still sitting there going, I hope it doesn't go, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen because he doesn't ever say anything. He vacillates. He's like, I might do it, I might not do it. Yeah, there's still time. He's like a master puppeteer of nothing, but he's committed American troops to a buildup that can only be explained in the Middle East of fighter jets, bomber jets, refueling jets, boots on the ground, aircraft carriers that can only be described as a military buildup to take part in some kind of military action with what's going on in the Middle East. So listen, like we can sit here all day, Zev, and go, oh, it's a scary time. It might happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's happening.
It could happen. I mean, we still don't know for sure that it's going to. It looks like he's very interested in it happening. I'm reminded just a few weeks ago, he went on his first foreign trip to Saudi Arabia and the UAE and was showered with all these gifts and bribes and crypto things. At the end of the day, the people who are really driving any anti-Iran sentiment in the Middle East, it's of course the Saudis and the UAE that are mortally opposed to the Iranians, and nothing would make them happier than to see the United States and Israel take out the Iranian regime and attack the Iranians. And as you look at them trying to rearrange the Middle East to suit MBS's interests, well, this could be a way to do that. It does make me think that what exactly was in the small print in the quid pro quo, as they were exchanging gifts for those crypto billions and all those other things. Was there a commitment from Donald Trump to say, "Hey, yeah, I'll take out Iran, no problem. It's just send the check, send the crypto to my World Liberty Financial Organization, and no problem. We'll take care of Iran," because that is the kind of thinking that he does. That is the way his brain works. That it's all about him and what he can make. So that's a real possibility. At the end of the day, the Iranians seem to be quite ineffective in fighting back. I mean, it seems like Israel has already got complete dominance over the Iranian airspace and not receiving much resistance at all. What's the point of piling on a world superpower? I don't know. Risk more dangerous escalation, risk the lives of all these 40,000 or more American troops that are based in and around the Middle East right now. Those are all become instant targets the minute Iran is hit by American warfare or any other sort of target, or any ammunition.
Did you see the tweet that came out today? And you know what? Fuck, whatever tweets. Like Elon got in a fight with Grok today on Twitter, so whatever. But did you?
Did he say?
Yeah, you didn't see that today? You didn't see that?
No, I quit.
Yeah, Grok gave an answer.
I quit Twitter. I can't do it anymore. Yeah, I was like,
Grok gave an answer. Something called the Grok checker was like, Grok, who commits most violence in the United States? Is it the extreme right or the left? And Grok's like, oh, the extreme right by far. It's all those fucking morons.
That's true.
Elon answers. And by the way, then all the maggots and all the Elon stands are like, Grok, when did you become so woke? Grok's like, yeah, I'm just an algorithm. I don't really play the identity game. Then Elon's like, this is wrong. Categorically, I have work to do. This is wrong. And he got in a fight with Grok. Grok's like, no, actually, I'm not wrong, even though you created me. It was absolutely hysterical. Anyway,
that is very funny.
Tweets for what they are. Yeah, it was fucking great. Yeah, you can read about it on my Substack, deanblundell.substack.com. 35% off annual subscriptions until the end of the month.
It's the best read on Substack. It may be the best read on the internet, actually. It may be the best
really
read
praise.
everywhere.
Thank you. So there was a tweet that was put out today where the Khomeini and the Islamic Republic of Iran effectively were like, tonight we're going to deliver a message to the world that the world will never forget. And I'm like, all right. Oh, okay. All right.
Are they sending us flowers?
yeah, that you have like no dominance of your own airspace.
Yeah.
It's completely taken over by Israel. There's a complete internet blackout in Iran right now. They've cyber jimmied Iran's ability to access the internet already. You've lost like every major head of the IGRC. You've lost, I don't know, thousands of IGRC guys, and they know where all your shit is, and they just keep bombing the crap out of you.
Mm.
And so they put that tweet out this afternoon. And the only thing that makes me go, maybe something really bad is going to happen at the hands of Iran at this point, because they've been able to sneak a few fucking pretty big missiles into Israel. Like, they've
They
been
also
able to
snuck
do some
October
pretty,
7 in, I mean, so
yeah.
things could happen.
So I don't know. I mean, hey, listen. Like I said, I'm of the firm opinion that this is going to happen, and it's a foregone conclusion that it's not just in the planning stages, but it's actually in the action stages that the United States is going to attack Iran. They're going to continue to work with Israel. They're going to get rid of the Khomeini, which, if you know anything about the Islamic Republic of Iran, he's like the Jesus of Muslims in Iran. Like, they want to take out their religious supreme leader, who is like, an extension of Muhammad. So, like, you talk about radicalizing generations of Muslims. You talk about taking out, and listen, again, there's a geopolitical issue here, there's a religious issue here, there's a humane issue here, all kinds of issues, but it's on, dude.
There's
I
no reason
cannot
for it.
stress that enough.
Yeah, but there is no reason for it. And people are going to die on the American side. The Middle East is a powder keg. It's so dangerous to be doing this in the middle of the situation. And
Yeah.
Russia is already warning that they'll be involved on the Iranian side. From a just a geopolitical perspective, that's really problematic.
I don't know how much I believe that, though, dude. Like,
It's true.
I know that
Could be.
Putin put out a note, Russia put out a note today, and they're
Yeah.
like, there will be severe consequences if the United States gets them. I've been listening to them talk about severe consequences for fucking 3 years. I mean,
Yeah.
you never see any severe consequences. You saw 500 drones and ballistic missiles in Kyiv and in and around Israel the other day. In and around Ukraine the other day. If that's as significant a consequence as Russia can deliver after getting their asses kicked for 3 fucking years, I don't necessarily believe them. And then part of me wonders if this is a dance. If a guy like Vladimir Putin would make good with Iran just to get what he wants, and then offer it up as a sacrificial geographical lamb, so to speak, and then be able to turn around and go, yeah, well, you shouldn't attack Iran, and while giving the
Yeah.
the old nod, wink, wink to Trump and Netanyahu, who Putin met with not long ago, as a matter of fact, if you remember correctly. So. It's what you don't know is kind of the killer. But on its face, having Israel and Iran go toe to toe like this, and Israel really already just dominating the entire war and conversation. Does it would I wouldn't surprise me if the United States, I'm sure they will, because Trump is like that. He's got another country doing the world's fucking dirty work. And so he's going to jump in there like he's the savior. And then at the end of it, he's going to say, like he does with World War II, after the United States was 2 years late getting in, he's like, if it wasn't for us, everybody would have lost. No, Canada was there. Free world was there. You guys for sure helped. But he's going to use this to promote himself. He'll literally use the suffering of American soldiers, the suffering of Iranian people, the suffering of the Israeli people, to promote himself as this great conqueror and this guy that finally liberated Tehran, like he's trying to liberate California. Zev,
Yeah.
you and I both know that.
Yeah, look, he is on the authoritarian side. There are authoritarian leaders like Netanyahu, like Putin, like Xi. They're on the other side of democracy, and it's clear that's where he'll line up, because that's where his
So
bread
he's
is
always
buttered.
been. Yeah.
And what's interesting though is what you're pointing out to, and this is our story number 4, is how the GOP is sort of showing its rupture, if you will, by the two sides that are sort of splitting down the middle about whether the United States should intervene in the Iranian war. So conservative media exploded yesterday when Tucker Carlson went head to head with Ted Cruz in a viral interview challenging Cruz's knowledge of Iran, while the senator advocates for regime change in that country. Carlson asked Cruz basic questions about Iran's population and ethnic composition, and Cruz did not know the answer. Carlson then unloaded, "You don't know anything about Iran." The heated exchange exposes a massive rift in the Republican Party with interventionists like Cruz and the isolationist American First Wing. Now, it is interesting. I mean, Tucker clearly is in the Russia camp of things, We also saw Tulsi Gabbard sort of isolated in the last 24 hours. She's not being invited to Camp David after her analysis of Iran's nuclear facilities. She's obviously on the Russian side of things. We are beginning to see sort of this public split between the two sides of the coalition that gave us Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Is it just theater? Who knows? But it is what's appearing out there.
Yeah, and it's super interesting. Tulsi Gabbard has literally been shoved to the side because about a month and a half ago, she appeared in front of Congress where she was asking questions about the trade tariffs, about the fentanyl issue. She was like, there's no real fentanyl issue coming out of Canada. That was strike one against Tulsi Gabbard. Then she said, she was asked, is Iran, are they capable, are they close to acquiring nuclear grade technology for nuclear weapons? She's like, not even fucking close. So the second Benjamin Netanyahu attacks and uses Iran's ability to create a nuclear weapon along with Donald Trump, they've got her words in the ether going, yeah, there's like fucking no way. And then they've also got Benjamin Netanyahu since 1992 talking about how Iran is days, maybe months, maybe days, maybe weeks away from developing nuclear weapons. And so that whole pretext, and we went back to that conversation yesterday about weapons of mass destruction, because Iraq is my time, watching Colin Powell and all these douchebags go, there's some really big bombs there they're going to use against us. We can't, they're weapons of mass destruction. They couldn't name them. They couldn't talk about them. So, they use the blanket nuclear threat. And they use that as a pretext to literally destroy a country. And again, no love lost for the Islamic regime and what they've done to women, human rights, habeas corpus, all that other stuff. I'm a strong believer that religion has no place in society, like fucking zero, no matter what the religion is. So, it's not that the free world is unhappy about it, but the inconsistencies around this and who's involved, why they're involved, what's at stake, the public approval of both leaders, not just Trump, but Netanyahu as well, in the fucking toilet. And Steve Schmidt put out a great article at The Warning. It was like, this is our wag the dog moment. Like, this is it. This is not just a distraction to keep you away from the extreme unpopularity of two world leaders. However, this is a moment in time where, you're being sold a bill of goods. Now, listen, again, I go back to the whole Islamic Republic, how they treat women, human rights, et cetera, et cetera. No love lost if and when it happens, and it's going to happen. However, the pretext for it, the story that you're being sold is very Iraq. And you know what happened in Iraq? It was 20 years of death, destruction, maiming, lost cause before everybody pulls out and Iraq gets exactly what they deserve, which is the Taliban. So, as to what happens in Iran after this, again, you're creating generations of really angry extremists. You're creating generations of people who, and say what you want about the regime, which is split in two. Half that country is deathly afraid of him. The other half of the country wants change. So, depending on what happens, you can look at Syria as an example, which needed to be cleaned out before, Israel went on this tangent and they attacked Iran. This was always part of the plan. If you read any open intel anywhere, they will tell you that. So I mean, hey, listen, we're at a crossroads, Zev. It's nice way to put it for the rest of the world.
I mean, this is the plan that they've always planned to execute. This is what we're seeing. It's becoming kinetic. The first part was about capturing the U.S. government, about capturing aspects of the U.S. government that would not be involved in stopping any of the stuff. So we've seen the weakening of the State Department. You've seen the weakening of the Pentagon. You've got all these other elements that are just being totally weakened. But now, he supposedly is free to do what he wants to do, is Donald Trump, and has amassed enough power maybe to do some of this stuff. But this is the plan. They're going to take over Iran because they want Iran to be neutered. They've done it before. It's nothing that America hasn't done before, and they will try to do it again. But the world is a very different place. I don't think they can have an idea of what they're going to do the day after, no matter how much Pete Hegseth is saying, well, we know what we'll do on day one. We don't know what will happen if the regime topples. There could be complete chaos if the regime topples in Iran. And as you point out, Iraq did not go very well. Saddam Hussein went, and it did not go very well after that.
And let's talk about the geopolitical influence that is involved here. You've got Russia that has a deep relationship with Iran. A whole bunch of IGRC guys and some religious leaders have already fled to Russia. So Russia needs Iran as a strategic partner for machines, drones, et cetera, for their war against Ukraine. Okay, there's that part. That's a major wrinkle for.
Big deal.
Uh,
Yeah.
so then you've got Israel's partner in the United States of America, knowingly taking Russia's side in the Ukraine, not skirmish, the genocide of the Ukrainian people at the hands of Russia, knowingly preventing Ukraine from fighting with munitions from the United States, walking back any cooperation agreements that the United States had with Ukraine. So you throw those relationships up in the air and it's dealer's choice. Like you have no idea who's supporting what at that point. Let's leave China out of the equation because that's way too much to talk
Oh,
about
but
right
they're
now.
involved. They're
But
involved. You know what I'm reminded of is that Donald Trump used to. I think he funded the entire build of the Trump Baku Hotel with Iranian Revolutionary Guard money. I mean, that is part of the record as we look back at his organized crime days, and when Ivanka Trump was out there building the grand, Trump Baku, which I don't think was ever finished, by the way. We know that a lot of the money that came to that was from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard trying to launder their money into
yeah,
Uzbekistani
and
oil, basically.
And I don't know if you remember this, but the head of Syria, the guy who's running Syria right now, promised Trump, some oceanfront property in Syria
Right,
for him to
right,
be
right,
able
right.
to build his thing. And then Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump went for it the other day, a couple of months ago when they were talking about turning Gaza into a parking lot. All Trump talked about was real estate, and then that old, Trump hotel in Gaza became another story today because effectively, Netanyahu and his group have said, yeah, if we take Gaza, you can have whatever you want.
Mm.
And Trump is intent on having a hotel too. It's amazing how important hotels are to these world skirmishes, isn't it?
Well, because it is interesting, and though there, wherever he goes, Eric Trump follows him like 2 days later with
Yeah,
these
yeah,
plans for where can we build a tower here, which is a money laundering exercise. Of course, it's a way to get
of
money
course, yeah.
out of the dirty
And
parts
it's
of
what they
these.
know, right?
Yeah,
They've laundered money through real estate and through service-related deals with real estate for 40 years. It's what they know.
it's like opening another branch of your money laundering bank. It's like, hey, we're open for business now in the country of Vietnam. So bring us all your dirty drug money or whatever it is. We'll launder it
Mhm.
through these luxury condos supposedly that we're selling you for exorbitant prices. Let's so not much on Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson there from us too, but it is interesting that these two are at odds with each other. I mean, it is sort of the rift is good. In many ways, we're beginning to see the flaws and the collapse of the coalition that gave us Donald
Oh, I
Trump.
forgot we were talking about Tucker Carlson and
We
Ted
were
Cruz,
talking
and
about,
then we
and
went sideways on the other shit again.
I
Hey,
was
listen,
just leading,
I
trying to boil you up into Tucker Carlson territory. I was hoping for a little bit more there,
Yeah,
Gene,
yeah.
but
Let me finish that off. We
yeah,
soldier on. Thank you,
yeah.
Janice. Yes, we do. Let me just kind of finish that off. I don't give a fuck about either one of those guys. Like I watched Tucker Carlson ask Ted Cruz about the population of Iran, the demographic of Iran, and then chastise him for I can't believe you want to attack a country you know nothing about. Well, and then Ted Cruz is like fuck you, and Tucker Carlson's like fuck you. And there's this narrative going around that Tucker Carlson's doing the free world a favor. He's a piece of shit.
Oh yeah, there's
Tucker
nothing.
Carlson is a compromised piece of shit who
Mm.
probably gets paid a ton of money by Russia to deliver talking points for Russia, probably gets paid a ton of money to do the same thing for Iran. And he's been taking everybody's fucking side, every despot's side. When Assad was kicked out of Syria after murdering hundreds of thousands of his own people,
Mm.
collecting billions of dollars worth of exotic vehicles, living in a multi-billion-dollar castle mansion fucking imperial palace. He's like, the guy's just an optometrist. What's everybody angry about? If Tucker Carl, like, the best thing that could happen is for MAGA guys like Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson to get put into a cage
Mm.
where they fight each other to the death and they both die. That is like legitimately the only thing that I would watch when it came to anything to do with Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. And no, I'm not sad that I said it. Okay?
I'm not gonna comment about the actual death match, but I mean, it would be nice to see them go at it. That's a good thing. It'll be like
I'd
the
love to
world's
see
biggest
it.
asshole.
Yeah,
Um,
two of the world's biggest beta cucks
Yeah.
on the floor of the Colosseum, old Roman floor of the Colosseum, with like one sword each, hiding from each other for hours. That's what
I
you
mean,
would get. You would
dude, I mean,
literally, that
Tucker
is all
Carlson
you would get.
fighting, the whole image is just, oh my God. I mean, lots of
Dude, do you remember when
slapping.
Tucker Carlson put out that thing? He's like, a demon tried to rape me once. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah,
It's like, I came home and I listen, this is how little I give a fuck about Tucker
he's a
Carlson.
news reporter. Of course, he
No,
saw
he's
it and
not.
he
No, he's not. He's
reported
a
it.
crisis actor and an opportunist and a lobbyist for some of
Yes.
the world's worst fucking dictators. That's what he
Yes.
gets paid for. So Tucker Carlson, if you remember this sums up Tucker Carlson. And Ted Cruz, same thing. I mean, Ted Cruz is the softest man on the planet. I'm embarrassed that he spent any time here. But Tucker Carlson
Awful
put out
human being.
a story where he's being interviewed by someone. He's like, I was attacked sexually by a demon once. I woke up one morning and my wife was like, what are all those scratches on your back, Tux? And he's like, I think I was attacked by a demon in the night sexually. This is after he got home from a business trip where he magically showed up with fucking scratches on his back. Not that, and I don't necessarily believe that he got those scratches by doing a great fucking job, by the way.
Well,
So
Matt Gaetz and him used to hang out a little bit, Matt
maybe
and
Matt
Tucker.
scratched his
So
back.
maybe someone was, or they, who knows where they were hanging out with and scratching whose back. I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Whatever.
It's a whole thing in the
Carlson.
GOP. At number 3, after his G7 humiliation, Trump immediately started lying on truth. And we're going to get to the G7 humiliation later, so hold your powder on that one. But he's already started lying about Canada considering joining his fantasy $71 billion missile defense system. So that's an increased price, by the way. It was $61 billion just 2 weeks ago. Now it's $71 billion. Maybe it's the Canadian dollar.
$10 billion for himself, right?
Yeah. Trump's pushing this imaginary golden dome where Canada either pays up or gets it for free by becoming, guess what, America's 51st state. You can always count on that, jokes. Bring it back. Reality check, Canada. Well, you tell us what the reality check is. This is not really going to happen. I mean, Canada's not jumping into the golden dome. The golden dome may never happen either.
This might come as a surprise, but he's lying.
Okay. All right.
This might shock my American friends, but Donald Trump is lying when he mentions Canada having any interest in the Golden Dome. The best part of that tweet or the comment was like, they're thinking about it. No, nobody's thinking about it. If you understand anything to do with the feasibility, the manufacturing, the geography alone, it has not just been panned, it's been laughed at by every major military expert, every smart person, everybody that has a fucking brain that functions in critical thought. Not only is the Iron Dome or the Golden Dome never going to happen, Donald Trump threatened us like a month ago. He's like, if you become the cherished 51st state, I won't make you give me $61 billion, not 71, $61 billion for my sweet golden space monster dome. We laughed at it. I called someone in Carney's orbit. I mean, what do you make of this? And he's like, honestly, dude, we take these calls, we look at the tweets, we put the phone down, we close our apps, and we look at each other and start fucking dying laughing. Canada has been laughing at this moron for the past 4 months. And that new assessment that he had coming home after literally running away from the G7, because when
wait to
he
get
was
out of
here,
Canada, it's not going to be that cherished if he's leaving so quickly. He was there for like less than 8 hours. It was like, okay, I'm out of here. Don't you want us as the 51st state? Show us some love, Donald Trump. We'll even build you a tower.
He had Friedrich Merz basically tell him Russia's not allowed to be here, dipshit. We don't allow warlords at the table. And then Macron chided him.
Warlords or war criminals at the table.
We're criminals at the table, just so you know. Mark Carney basically said, hey, listen, we're not going to talk to you about any Golden Dome stuff. This is 2 months ago. And Carney's people today basically said, not only did he not bring it up, we didn't agree to shit. Like, we didn't agree to anything. And then you had Merloni leaning on him. You had France leaning on him. And he knew, and you had Scheinbaum showing up and Zelensky showing up the next day. That sickly, unhealthy, dementia-laden, drug addict, felon president of the United States got out of Canada as fast as he fucking could because he was embarrassed, not only by his own behavior, by a serious mental and physical decline, which White House aides have confirmed. Yeah, we had to pull him out of there because he was a disaster, a rambling, fucking sleeping disaster. Not only did he fall asleep in the morning session, like he just got there. He's like, I just got to cop a little nap in the middle of the sesh. And not only was he laughed at and mocked when he left, Donald Trump took it upon himself to try to change the narrative that he's still the fucking guy. He's in charge. So he puts out a comment on Air Force One. He's like, yeah, by the way, the dome, it's probably going to happen, and they're probably going to give me 71 billion, not even 61 billion, because America's still in charge. Donald Trump lost 12 ways to Sunday this weekend at the G7. Donald Trump was roundly mocked, not only because of his inability to put a fucking sentence together, but because he didn't do anything for America or the G7 or democracy. He said a bunch of dumb shit about how much he liked Putin, fell asleep in a couple meetings, smelled like shit and piss, by the way, according to people around him. And then he left early because he had to, because he needs to be close to a bathroom and medical professionals. And he's absolutely deathly afraid of all the people that he's threatened over the past 4 months showing up, which they did yesterday and today to the G7, because he's a coward.
And we're going to get to that
and
later
listen,
on.
the Canadian government knows he's a coward. So there you go.
They do. We'll get to the big finale of the G7 coming up as our number one story. But at two things I want to point out. One is, did you know that the lead contenders for the Golden Dome are, take any two companies in the world, who do you think is going to build the Golden Dome for Donald Trump?
Lockheed Martin?
No.
Boeing?
No.
BlackRock?
No, none of those companies. Two other companies might build the great Golden Dome. Palantir is one of those companies. And the other company is Starlink.
Starlink Doge,
and Palantir are together, partnering up as the lead potential frontrunners for the first initial $6 to $10 billion that they're planning on investing for this 400 to 1,000 satellites in missile defense protection called the Golden Dome. Keep that in your pocket, because it's one of those little facts that you're going to think, just another thing these two guys are doing together, because there's another thing that the Palantir and Starlink have been doing together. I've been covering a lot of it on Narrative, which is all about their ability to access our voting machines. But today, 10 Democratic lawmakers finally, and they were led by Ron Wyden and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, delivered a devastating 5-page letter to Palantir CEO Alex Karp. This is the first time lawmakers have actually gone at Palantir, and they're asking for a lot of questions, a lot of answers to a lot of questions about how Palantir is enabling and profiting from serious violations of federal law by helping Trump build a government-wide mega database of taxpayer information that violates privacy laws, protecting Americans for nearly 50 years. The letter compares Palantir to IBM selling computers to the Nazi concentration camps and demands answers by July 10th about what they call a surveillance nightmare. Good news. This is amazing. I'm so glad they're finally doing something. And even though they're going to get a bunch of BS back as answers, the fact that they're putting it on the record is super important. As we know, these authoritarian governments, the way they fall down is if we exhaust all our other paths, legal paths of questioning and dealing with stuff. So this is a good way to do it. It means those petitions to them have worked, and it means they're noticing that there's a real problem happening with Palantir across the government. And I'd like to hear your take.
Listen, the Trump regime, in my estimation, is trying desperately to speed up their authoritarian takeover of the United States of America. Including their partners who made Trump's presidency remotely possible, Palantir and Doge, which is Elon Musk's Starlink. They saw last weekend's absolute repudiation of the Trump regime's policy, with 13 to 14 million people showing up to say, fuck you. They saw that. They smell blood in the water when it comes to world leaders not taking him seriously anymore. And to own every American's data, which is what Peter Thiel and Palantir do at the behest and with the help of Doge and Elon Musk, you can reset any conversation. You can change reality. You can force people into a sim. You can enrage them. You can rage bait them. You can literally trigger people into doing your bidding. And this is now the Trump regime's Project 2025 dreams of a surveillance slash police state are now front and center. They're job number one for the Trump regime. How fast can we go? And to know that lawmakers are now tuning into things that you, Zev Shalev, at Narrative, have been raging about for months. Other people like Olga Lautman from the Trump Tyranny Tracker, other people like Don Winslow, what's the guy's name from Dave Troy.
Mhm.
There's so many people that have been ringing this bell, and to see lawmakers finally pick it up and go, yeah, we're hearing that bell now,
Mhm.
and to be able to deliver some type of warning, whether it matters or not, is huge when it comes to awareness of what the intentions of the Trump regime are for the American people. It is huge because what you've laid out for months is exactly the intention of the regime, which is keep Trump out of jail, enrich Trump, the oligarchy gets what they want, and they get to sell what they're doing to the highest fucking bidder. And what they're doing is stealing all of your information. What they're doing is weaponizing your data points against you. And this is happening in real time.
Yeah.
And they're going to do it with Palantir. They're developing a surveillance machine technology that has the ability to figure out where you are, when you are, why you are, and what you are, so that they can change the course of your day. So they can force you into algorithms, into taking action, into being angry, into spending money, into giving money, all the things that make them the enemy of the people. And they are. Peter Thiel, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they are the enemy of the people.
Mhm.
You know, mainstream media, and listen, the one thing that Donald Trump said, and I do believe this, is that a lot of captured mainstream media outlets are the enemy of the people. That doesn't come close to the danger of the oligarchy, their social media platforms and capture and data capture platforms. They are the enemy of the people. They are the new enemy of the people. And Donald Trump knows this, so they're trying to speed that shit up as fast as they fucking can.
What's so great about this letter is that they are basically putting them on notice that they're committing a crime or committing crimes. You know, they're saying that this Privacy Act that's supposed to protect us all from surveillance states like the one that they're trying to build is being, is being built against the law. So, as much as Thiel and Karp always like to say that they're on the right side of the law, there is actually legislation that they're contravening every single day. And that's the IRS piece of it that they really are addressing in this letter. What I've just put out today on narrative.org is about the persistent now capture of electronic voting machines. I looked at these three big companies, the Eaton Company, which owns a lot of the power supply infrastructure, the supply chain to all the EVMs, Palantir, and you look at Starlink, and the combined forces of these three companies together, what they provide is what Vladimir Putin has in Russia, this overarching mechanism that can control all the elections across America. I mean, America has elections in each individual state for a reason. It's not designed to be centralized. What Palantir is building right now, and has already built with Eaton and with Starlink, all quite secretly, is an ability to basically handle all the operational details of that election. You're on one platform, on the Eaton platform, and on the Palantir AI on that Eaton platform. And it's a kind of a technical article. I wrote it very technically because I just need people to understand this is reality. This is not something that is a theory. This is stuff that they're actually in the process of doing. And it seems to me that they've interlinked all these EVMs through these power supplies onto one platform. That's not meant to happen. That's not meant to be the case. We don't know if that gives them access to what the results were, and maybe they could fiddle the results. We just don't know exactly what that does. But it's quite possible it gave them all sorts of access in real time to the results as they were happening, as votes were being cast in 2024. This is a very, very big story, but it's not only a big story about 2024. It's a big story for every future election. It's a big story for democracy. Because this is the way Putin does it in Russia. He has, a bunch of computers. They all determine how he gets his, 93% vote title every time he goes into an election. That's how he does it. So I'm glad the senators and the Congress people are putting questions around the IRS. They should also be looking at the election systems and whether these have been compromised by these three companies. And people can read more about that on narrative.org right now.
Yeah, go to narrative.org, 35% off annual subscriptions right now. Zev does an incredible job, unparalleled, if you want to read more about that.
I'm in my
and you
cave on
should.
the story.
I know.
You ever go? I've not looked at any other story. I've just been like zeroed in on this day and night, and it's fascinating to me. I like this technical shit, I'm geeked that way. But it's really interesting that they've been allowed to do this. It's all happened in the open. No one's, it's like the biggest crimes are happening right in the open, and no one's paying attention to them. It makes me wonder why. I don't know.
Well, because they're doing a whole bunch of other shit at the same time. Flood the zone, right?
Flood the zone, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, confuse everyone, scare everyone. Let's get to the number one story, because this was really big today. Trump left the G7, and it sort of marked a real breaking point in relations with the free world and America's regime. And in flew Vladimir Zelensky, and alongside Mark Carney, they did a remarkable job of putting Putin on notice by introducing a couple of very big measures, which have never been done before by any G7 country, which you'll explain to us in a second. But they really have united around this new True North, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. The True North Alliance. It does seem
the
to
leader
me,
of the new leader of the free world. Is that what you're saying? You're saying that the G7 is literally rallying around Mark Carney, who is the new fucking leader of the free world. Yeah. I agree.
And you're not seeing a lot of this on American TVs, but it's a big story that America's not showing you, because their president just abdicated basically as the leader of the free world and handed over the whole thing to Carney, who just basically eviscerated him.
Yeah, there's no alternative to supporting Ukraine and Canada. Canadians know that. The diaspora of Ukrainian people in this country, we love them. There are millions of Ukrainians, specifically in Alberta and Ontario, and Mark Carney knows that. But more importantly, he knows what's going on in Ukraine, which is the fight for democracy. This is, putting a finger in the plug or plugging the hole in the authoritarian dam. Is that Canada is going to lead. We are going to force other people into the conversation, which is why Vladimir Zelensky showed up to the G7 and was a boss yesterday. The announcement. Let's get to it. At the end of the day, Carney and Zelensky had an announcement at the G7 summit. What did Canada do yesterday? Everything. Sanction Putin's shadow fleet, something America has refused to do. Canada joined the EU, crippling the secret shipping network of Putin. Over 400 tankers operate under fake flags, carrying Russian oil around the ground. That's just something everybody is aware of. It's a violation of Western price caps. These sanctions blacklist ship owners, brokers, insurance companies, enabling the fleet. Block logistics firms involved with illegal transfers. Anybody that works with them, you're fucking done. Cuts off revenue pipelines fueling Russia's military. It's not symbolic. It is literally direct warfare on the Russian machine. Number two, seized Russian oligarch wealth will go to Ukraine. This is a big one.
That's a really big one.
Russians have done a marvelous job over the past 40 years getting money out of Russia, getting money into Canada and the United States. Canada, because of its former weak banking laws, was a beautiful place for anybody who wanted to come and hide a bunch of fucking money. It just always was. You put it into infrastructure jobs, whether it be tunneling with Oleg Deripaska in the city of Toronto. That's an active, it's called Strabag, by the way. It's an active contract. They're still working. This is huge. And so you've got oligarchs that are running businesses here. Their businesses have wealth. Their businesses have bank accounts where they launder money, et cetera, et cetera. And for the first time in G7 history, we're not just freezing assets, we're giving them back to Ukraine. This is the first time any country's done this. We're transferring $2 billion in Canadian dollars in frozen oligarch assets to Ukrainian reconstruction funds. Using laws under Canada's Special Economic Measures Act, SEMA, and the Magnitsky legislation. You should read about the Magnitsky Act. It's a very, very good one. Creating legal precedent that other democracies can follow. Yachts, condos, secret bank accounts of Putin's cronies are now funding Ukrainian hospitals, schools, and munitions to fight these same people that attacked. New military package. We're going to give Ukraine $1.2 billion in lethal aid, drones, air defense systems, encrypted comms gear, NATO standard ammunition, extending Canadian Forces training through 2026. It was huge. It was, the thing that every G7 leader should have stood next to Vladimir Zelensky and said. It was what Donald Trump should have said. It's what America should be doing. And in the shadow of that, like, ruinous fucking geriatric, sickly felon prick literally bailing ahead of meeting with Zelensky, I could not, and I've said this a few times, have been more proud to be Canadian. Watching Mark Carney stand there shoulder to shoulder with Zelensky going, we're going to give you all the Russian money that we took. We're going to put another 1.2 billion in military aid towards what you're trying to accomplish for the free world. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be right here. And that statement literally sent a charge through the other G7 nations who were there for the same reason. Yeah, they're there for the security and the economic and military security of their own countries, but they're there for democracy. They're there to support Volodymyr Zelensky. That's what Macron was doing there. That's why MERS is so intense on rearming Europe, specifically through projects that run through Germany. That's why you had the leader of the EU there. That's why the Mexican president was there. That's why Modi was there. Is that you saw people line up next to Vladimir Zelensky and you saw Mark Carney step out on a ledge going, I don't give a fuck what the American president says. We are all in for Ukraine and that will never change.
Look, it was such a coup as well that Carney executed this choreography so well. You know, he had Trump there for the first day. He kept him on a very, very short leash, but allowed him to make a ton of mistakes. And then, sent him home with his tail between his legs. And the next day, Zelensky flies in. I mean, the timing was obviously very
well. And did you see what
thoughtfully.
Carney did too? He put Zelensky in Trump's seat.
Yeah, you said that
at the
yesterday.
G7.
I love that kind of, that stuff really means a lot in the diplomatic world. Those visuals really
Yeah.
mean a lot. When you've got Zelensky in America's seat at the G7, it says a lot to the world, and it's true in this case. It is a remarkable thing that we're witnessing the U.S. abdicate its position as the leader of the free world. I mean, just simply walking away in order to launch a couple of missiles at Iran. They've given up their mantle. They're giving up their opportunity to lead the free world, to be the liberal democracy that leads the free world in terms of human rights, in terms of making sure that governments are representative of their people against all this authoritarian crime and the cheating that goes on in these authoritarian governments. And so, why is America doing this to itself? It's a huge question. But it is what's happening. It is happening right now that America is no longer that leader of the free world. They're just becoming an authoritarian pariah now, and and it's going to get worse. I mean, the isolation of America. You got some good stuff in your Substack today about the tourism industry hurting America. As he pours in another 2,000 National Guard troops, we just found out into California streets, because he's likely to be able to continue doing that according to the appeals court. Boy, are we seeing the militarization of America and the deliberalization of America to the point where it's going to become a pariah around the world. People don't want to go to America anymore. There are fewer immigrants now than moving into America than ever before, that the numbers are beginning to drop for the population. This is disastrous for a superpower that's intent on growth. And have we heard anything about those tariff deals? Has there been a tariff deal? Not a single tariff deal. And aren't we at that 90 days? We're about 90 days soon. I mean,
we're 95 days.
Yeah. So, what is, this guy is leading
90 deals in 90 days. He was going to do 90 deals in 90 days.
Yeah,
0 deals in 95 days.
So, this is where we're at. This is an American government that is embarrassing America.
I want to say something too to kind of finish off the Substack. And I go back to this quite a bit because it's really important to make sure you make the distinction of why Canada is boycotting the United States of America. We're not boycotting Americans. Okay? We're boycotting Donald Trump. We're boycotting MAG America. And to a Canadian, you will see a sense of pride and you'll also see a sense of loss when we talk about how I canceled 3 trips to the United States this year, 3 of them. Yeah. And I've chosen to go to Rome, France, and to a cottage instead. And the reason why I did that, and I'm speaking to my American friends, was because I don't feel safe in your country. I don't feel safe crossing into your country through your border. I don't feel safe being in your country. I don't feel safe as a Canadian that someone's not going to come and like these videos, these ICE videos, they've had an effect on
Oh,
so
yeah.
many of us in this country. My gay friends do not feel comfortable going into the United States of America. My trans friends do not feel comfortable going into the United States of America. My family members have all canceled, rescheduled, or completely balked at trips going into the United States of America. And yesterday, I watched a video of Kathy Hochul and several other American governors gather in New Brunswick with Canadian premiers, beg Canadians to come back to the United States of America, beg for us to put some of our Canadian dinero, to put our time into hotels and restaurants and trips, and travel and airfare. Um, and we're not doing it. You know, at the end of it, Susan Holt, New Brunswick Premier, was like, I'm just going to continue to encourage Canadians to stay in Canada for the next,
Mhm.
foreseeable future, explore Canada. Mark Carney announced today, after the G7 was over, something called Canada Pass, where all the major tourist attractions will be free for Canadians this year,
Mhm.
specifically all summer and all fall long, including rail travel for children under the age of 18. You
Oh,
get a
wow.
free Via Rail ticket. He's working with airlines to bring pricing down so Canadians can continue to explore this beautiful, free, democratic country, which does not remove habeas corpus or your basic human rights because of your skin color, where you're from, how long you've been here, if you're here legally or illegally. We don't do that. And because of that, Canadian tourism in the United States is down between 20 and 60%, depending on the state. Vermont, hotels down 45%. Credit card spending by Canadians down 45%. New York City bookings down 50%. Maine tourism down 26%. Over 1 million Canadians annually used to go to Maine. They've had roughly about 10,000. Land border crossings, they've gone down to double digits. Airfare from Canada to the U.S. destinations down 50% January over May 2025. We're all in this together. Like we have completely reoriented. And it's got nothing to do with America. It's got nothing to do with Americans. It's got nothing to do with how much we love that relationship we used to have with America. But to coin Mark Carney, it's over. Your president has facilitated a new environment that Canadians just not only don't feel comfortable in, we're afraid to be in, and the insults were too much, and the tariffs threatening our brothers and sisters and neighbors and cousins and uncles' livelihoods and jobs, that we just decided to vacation here, baby.
Mhm.
We're going to go and visit resorts in Canada. We're going to go to cottages. We're going to go golfing in PEI and Newfoundland and Labrador and Vancouver. We're going to explore the prairies. Not sure what's there, even though I live there, but I'm sure we'll explore some things in the prairies. We're going to look at the Rockies. We're going to go to the Great Lakes. We're going to go to Niagara Falls. We're going to go camping. We're going to stay in nice hotels in Canada. We're going to experience these countries that we
You have a
haven't been
nice
to.
life there, Dean. Gosh, I
It's
like
not
your
bad.
life.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
You know, it's so sad. I mean, I'm an American green card holder. I'm an American person. I'd love to be working in the United States right now. I can't work in the United States right now. I can't do the work I'm doing and the work I've been doing covering this regime. I don't feel safe going into America at all. I truly believe, and I've been advised by a bunch of people, do not go because you will get arrested. The that is unbelievable that I fought all my life to get out of South Africa and apartheid South Africa to live in a free country. And I finally, my sight was set on America because that was the beacon of freedom around the world. I get there only to find that it's become, another apartheid state, or is on the way to becoming an apartheid state. This is the country that had the gold standard for the free press, for the free media, and it's just gone so quickly. When people are shooting at protesters and journalists covering the protesters in LA, when the police are shooting at the media. I mean, this is an unrecognizable country. This is not a country like it used to be at all. They're arresting the comptroller of New York City. They're doing all this stuff, and it's like, what are you doing? How can you be breaching everyone's rights
Police
like
state,
this.
baby. They can do it because they feel like they were given a mandate to do it. Cruelty is the point. Project 2025 is the point. They don't give a shit. They don't give a
Yeah.
shit about humanity, the people in America. They don't even give a fuck if you voted for them. You know how many Latinos for Trump are currently in CCOT? Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands of
Unbelievable.
you. Yeah. So, to that point, I know that sometimes some people that watch this podcast get a heavy anti-American feel for me.
Mm,
In no way, shape, or form am I anti-American.
mm.
I am a representation of the vibe in this country, which is heavily anti-Trump. He's got like a 9% approval rating in this country. We don't dislike him. We fucking hate him.
Yeah.
Not only because he is the antithesis of Canadian values, because of what he's done to you, our friends, and what he's continuing to do to you, our friends. So never mistake my disdain and the disdain of Canadians during this boycott, which is crushing U.S. tourism industries, specifically in border states, which is making people go bankrupt. Don't look at us. We love you. We're sorry. But in no way, shape, or form are we going to put ourselves in any kind of danger, or in no way, shape, or form are we going to loan any money, any of our energy to the Trump regime and that ass wipe that
Mm.
is currently destroying our relationship with you. We're trying to help, and that's the entire point.
That is Dean Blundell of the Dean Blundell Substack.com. And you should check out his Substack. It's absolutely brilliant. I say it every day, but I do get a ton of news from your website that I don't get anywhere else. And that is really distinguishing because there's a lot of news sites out there, but you really bring a very unique perspective and a really sharp, crisp analysis to everything that you do. And so everyone should check out deanblundell.substack.com at 35% off your annual rate right now. You can catch my work at narrative.org. And we will be back tomorrow with another FiveStack at 3 p.m. And we didn't do the Trump tyranny tracker today, but we will do one tomorrow at 2 p.m. So we'll see you then. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.